Yeah, we're on.
Good evening, bonsoir. Welcome to the March 25th, 2024 meeting. We'll begin. Item 1, roll call. All members except Councillor Lalonde. Unfortunately, Councillor Lalonde is under the weather this evening, so he won't be joining us. I'll ask everyone to please stand for the Territorial Land Acknowledgement Statement and Moment of Reflection, followed by the National Anthem.
Good. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe and the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, and Kanien'kehá:ka peoples. We acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within.
Attendu que le Canada est fondé sur des principes qui reconnaissent la suprématie de Dieu et la primauté du droit, prenons un moment de réflexion personnelle. Merci. Thank you very much. Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. There is none. Item 5, adoption de l'ordre du jour. Motion d'adopter l'ordre du jour tel que présenté. Besoin d'un proposeur, un appuyeur, s'il vous plaît. Proposé, conseiller Lorrain. Seconded, Councillor Tarnowski. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 6, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Hearing, seeing none. Item 7, adoption of the minutes, regular council minutes of March 11th, 2024. Motion to approve the following minutes as presented. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Deakin, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 8, présentation, il n'y en a pas. Item 9, délégation, none. Item 10, consent items, motion that all items listed under consent items be received as presented. A, request for the community grants from Parks and Recreation Department 2024 budget. Item B, minutes of the Accessibility Advisory Committee of November 8, 2023. Item C, minutes of the Teen Advisory Committee of March 5th, 2024. And item D, pay list of February 2024. Any questions, members of council? Hearing, seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Councillor Deakin. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 11, rapport des départements et comités du Conseil. Item A, règlement visant à accepter certains terrains de l'application du contrôle des lots PD 2024, voire règlement numéro 16 pour le 976-982 rue Cologne, Embrun. Questions, commentaires, membres du Conseil? Hearing, seeing none. Anything to add from the administration? No, thank you. Move on to item B, zoning bylaw amendment report PD 2024-09, Eltimo Street and Malacano Street in Limoges. The council received report PD 2024-09 dated March 25th, 2024, and approved the zoning amendment application submitted by TMJ Construction, Inc. to change the zoning from residential 3 zone exception and holding R3 3H to residential 3 zone exception 3 R3-3. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Lorrain?
So just removing the holding symbol to allow them to begin construction?
Monsieur Godin, Madame Tremblay?
Some of the phases, previous phase are already started, but yes, it's to, the allocation were granted last year, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Bourgon. And yeah, it's just to allow them to proceed with the allocation that were given last year.
Excellent, thank you.
Parfait. D'autres questions, commentaires? Anything else to add, Madame Tremblay? No, we're good. Item C, paving contract report ISPW 2024-04. The council received report ISPW 2024-04 dated March 25th, 2024, and approved the proposed bylaw to award a contract and to authorize the entry into an agreement with Blair Asphalt for the paving of the selected roads for $2,499,868.85 plus $43,997.69 for a grand total of $2,543,866.54. This amount includes 1.76% of non-refundable HST, and that council approved to add Route 300 on the 2024 paving list, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing, seeing none. Anything to add for the report, Monsieur Bourgon? No? OK, parfait. Prochain item, item D. Construction d'un carrefour giratoire, rapport ISPW 2024-05, que le Conseil reçoive le rapport ISPW 2024-05, daté du 25 mars 2024 et approuve l'augmentation du budget selon l'implication financière pour les 2 carrefours giratoires. Questions, commentaires, membres du Conseil? Councillor Deacon?
Yeah, for the Saint-Guillaume Village roundabout, I'm just wondering what accounts for the adjustment at this point in the contract.
Monsieur Godin, Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci. Donc, la construction s'est étalée sur 2 saisons, puis il reste encore des portions à faire. Donc, à cause de la séquence ou le temps où le contrat a été établi entre les comtés et le développeur, nous, on avait mis notre budget était établi à l'avance, puis j'avais pas les chiffres exacts afin de faire l'ajustement au budget à l'automne dernier. Donc, cet ajustement devait venir au conseil là, dans les prochains mois. And the extras that are related, some was for the sub-base, the upcoming lights and landscaping mostly, and increased cost of the supervision for the engineers. The county did their adjustment in a report, I believe, a few months ago.
Parfait. D'autres questions, commentaires? Hearing, seeing none. Councillor Lorrain?
And as in the report, the cost will be, the increase that you're asking for will be funded through development charges?
Monsieur Bourgon?
Donc, effectivement, c'est l'augmentation va venir des frais de DC. So, DC will be covering both increase. On a side note, for the roundabout type 300 in Limoges, we are reviewing some items, so we may see some savings throughout construction, but we did award for the worst case scenario in this case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anything else to add, Monsieur Bourgon? We're good? Item E, Water and Sewer Annual Report for 2023, Report ISWATWW 2024-01. The council received ISWATWW 2024-01, dated March 25th, 2024, and acknowledge receipt of the Water and Sanitary Sewer Operations Compliant Report 2023. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Deacon?
On page 76, it talks about the ECA effluence compliance limits. in the spring treated discharge. Sorry, I can't recall if that was which side, which village that was related to. But the limits were surpassed, I suppose. So I'm just wondering, what are the consequences of that for the township? Are we fined? Do we need to change our strategy, or?
Through you, Monsieur Godin, Monsieur Bourgon.
So that would be for the Embrun Lagoon facility. So we are in conversation with the ministry. We did some tweaks in our the way of operating. So there's things that can be done at this point, but our master plan is also reviewing that whole situation. So we'll have to turn likely with mechanical or other means of treatment in the future. But at this time, we are working closely with the ministry in finding ways to tweak our operation in order to meet the limits.
Okay. Follow-up, Councillor Deakin?
Excuse me, just a question from page 120 as well, where there's a note around consultation with South Nation is recommended to eliminate restriction on Russell Lagoon ECA. I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of how urgent these sorts of recommendations are that come forward. You know, when folks see reserve capacity, no additional development should be approved until the restriction is removed. That sounds pretty urgent, but I'm just wondering, how is this? I guess what is the timeline that we're looking at for responding to this sort of notice or recommendation that comes forward?
Monsieur Bourgon?
So we already did that step to talk with the ministry in South Nation. So basically in our ECA, that the point we're at now, we're coming in really close in terms of flow coming in Russell Lagoon. It's to have the discussion to be able to establish what would be required in terms of agreement to offset our phosphorus. But in order to put that agreement in place, and our master plan will confirm that, there's still several years. And with our conversation with South Nation, to put that in place, it's a matter of a month or two. So basically, it's a trigger in our ECA to make sure that it's not it's not put aside or it's not forgotten. So we did that in the last few months. Those initial steps.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Anything else to add to the report, Monsieur Bourgon? No? Okay. Prochain item, item F. Plan stratégique 2023-2026, mise à jour, mars 2024, rapport CAO 2024-01. Que le Conseil reçoive le rapport CAO 2024-01 daté du 25 mars 2024 à titre d'information et approuve les ajustements proposés au plan stratégique tel que présenté à l'annexe 2. Questions, commentaires, questions, comments, members of council. Councillor Ternowski?
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Alors, ce serait une question pour Monsieur Godin. Savoir, il y a 5 objectifs qui ont changé de deadline. Je veux juste savoir le rationnel, like the rationale for the deadline, the selected deadline chosen. Is it just like we didn't have enough time, let's just move it to December, let's put them all in December? Or is it like, I just want to make sure that we're putting a fair deadline that's attainable, as opposed to just saying, okay, we're moving it there and we'll deal with that next time. Just to make sure it's, and I'm not advocating for like earlier deadlines or anything like that. I just want to know that we actually have a rationale behind it.
Thank you. Monsieur Godin?
Oui, through you, Mr. Mayor. Donc, merci pour la question, conseiller Ternowski. Effectivement, les deadlines qu'on a mis comme ajustement, c'est des échéanciers qu'on croit qui sont réalisables. On les a avec chacun des différents directeurs, dépendant des initiatives. On a eu des discussions sur le pourquoi qu'on ne s'est pas rendu là, puis quand est-ce que ça pourrait être livré. Donc, on n'a pas juste mis... Oui, on a mis décembre 2024, je pense, pour les 3 qu'on a ajustés, mais ce n'est pas juste une date qu'on a lancée de même, c'est quand même en discussion avec l'équipe et les opérations.
Merci.
D'autres questions, commentaires? Councillor Deakin?
Yeah, I'll start with a general comment, and I just have one question. I was really pleased to see this update and to be able to ground our work again in the strategic plan. It serves as a major tool and a guide for me in the work that I'm doing and the decisions and how I make decisions. And I also, there's a lot that's been accomplished. I just want to acknowledge that. There's been so much work that's happened. So celebrating that, at the same time, recognizing that we're in an evolution towards what I hope is also impact evaluation. So not just what we did or what the township administration has accomplished and did, but what the impact was that ultimately on our bottom line or, residents' experiences, et cetera. So just so that we can say, to get to that big vision statement, we're not going to get there by ticking boxes, right? So just acknowledging that where we're at in applying this strategic plan. And I think, I'm very proud to be working for a community of residents here that we can point to that as our guide. My question was about the 6C, the work towards a Vision Zero approach. Just have been contacted by some residents who live on Central Park Boulevard in Russell in particular, which is a fairly long residential street. And understanding that that the township isn't able to do traffic calming measures until a road is transferred, I understand, a street is transferred into township. So I'm just wanting to understand where that's at with that street in particular. And I'm also wondering if this is something that can be prevented at all, like if it's within township's power to use segments of longer streets, for example, in the agreements and have transfers segment by segment. I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can do to prevent such a delay. So many people live on that street and young families, and wanting to make sure that it's a safe street for them to be on.
Thank you. Monsieur Godin, who wants to? Monsieur Bourgon?
Well, I can understand especially that example. Yes, you're right. It's a long stretch. Now we're seeing our developer are registering or putting smaller phases at the time. So for us, it's really to make sure that what they're responsible for, it's well built and there's no deficiencies. In that case, there's still deficiencies to be fixed on that stretch. So we're hoping that the developer will be there this summer. So to complete the transfer, and we have the plans already approved. So once the transfer is completed, we can act on the plan approved by council a few years ago.
Okay.
Just
Follow up.
excuse me, my voice is awful tonight. Just to follow up on the, I guess it's the agreements itself. It has to be the entire stretch of the road. We can't. You kind of said phases, so I'm wondering. I guess the agreement applies to the entire development, or?
So this is one of the, I'll say, developments that's been going on for quite a long period of time. So, Monsieur Bourgon?
But in that case, there are several phases, but Central Park does fall under one of those phases.
Under one, okay.
So from a planning perspective, I guess we learn from all the subdivisions and best practices, and going into the future, that might be something we're able to look at as to how the length of time of the project might result in potential impacts. Councillor Lorrain?
Length of time and multiple developers, right? Because one section of it is one developer and the other section that links all the way to South Russell Road is another developer. So now you're talking two different developers, one road, one thoroughfare. So how do you coordinate all of that, right? So.
Councillor Tarnowski?
Somewhat related, but we had talked about this in the parks when we get access to the space or the developer creates the park. Often it's done in stages, and the park space is not till the end, and so many residents end up waiting years on end for their park, but that's just the process that we have at this point.
Yeah. Quelque chose à ajouter, Madame Tremblay?
Quand on reçoit un plan de subdivision, on ne contrôle pas nécessairement la longueur et le nombre de terrains qui sont inclus dans le plan de subdivision. Ça, c'est le développeur qui va soumettre le plan avec 20 ou 50 maisons. Puis oui, par après, c'est développé par différents développeurs, mais l'entente est sous le même nom, donc le même contracteur, le même développeur, si on veut. Une question de transfert, c'est pour protéger la municipalité aussi. Donc, on transfère seulement les assets quand les assets sont construits en fonction de nos standards, puis on évalue la liste de déficiences pour s'assurer que la rue est transférée seulement une fois que nous, on est satisfait pour pas transférer les problèmes qui viennent avec la construction. Au niveau du parc, on a déjà eu la conversation. Les parcs sont localisés stratégiquement en fonction de l'entente de subdivision, mais aussi par rapport à la localisation des parcs environnants. Donc, on ne veut pas en mettre 2 trop proches. Donc, ça se peut que le prochain parc tombe plus loin dans une subdivision à cause qu'on en a déjà un proche. Puis, on ne voudrait pas nécessairement construire un parc dans le milieu d'un champ. Donc, c'est le processus, mais c'est le bon processus qui fonctionne puis qui est le même à travers l'Ontario. Donc, c'est un plan de subdivision qu'on suit sous le Planning Act.
Parfait. Merci. Monsieur Bourgon?
Je voulais juste ajouter aussi dans les nouvelles, les subdivisions à venir, mais l'idée, le concept de traffic calming ou toute la mesure de sécurité fait partie de la conception initiale des rues. Un concept que, un 12-13 ans passés n'était pas aussi répandu. Donc maintenant, toutes les nouvelles subdivisions, les artères principales de subdivision ont ce concept-là d'implémenter de façon initiale.
Oui. Puis ça reflète que ça va être le développeur qui va payer pour ces travaux-là et non la taxation à travers la municipalité parce que ce n'était pas inclus au début. So, proper planning. D'autres questions, commentaires? Non? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter? Monsieur Godin.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le maire. Bonsoir, chers membres du conseil. Just wanted to touch on Conseillère Deacon's some of her comments, and just to let you know that. So I appreciate the comments, and so this report we kind of included a high-level summary of what's been worked on and what's been accomplished for each of the objectives. We did start discussions as a group to develop a list of KPIs to be able to update council on measurable outcomes for each of these initiatives. So you can expect some of those in future updates. And I did want to mention as well, and thank Conseillère Deacon again for pointing it out, but there is missing an objective in Appendix 1. So back in November, following a recommendation from the Community Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee, Council approved the addition of the objective to enhance the representation of First Nations, Inuits, and Métis cultures and knowledge through public space curation, events, partnerships, and asset naming where possible. So that objective is going to be added and reported on in future updates as well. Donc, pour ce soir, c'est ça. C'est une opportunité pour vous présenter cette information-là. Une opportunité pour vous aussi d'en discuter si vous voulez. Puis, s'il y a des nouveaux objectifs à proposer, c'est toujours la bienvenue de le faire. Puis sinon, nos directeurs sont tous présents pour répondre à des questions si vous en avez.
Okay. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Godin. Further questions or comments? Hearing, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. Item 12, reports from investigator and the ombudsman. We have none. Item 13, avis de motion, il n'y en a pas. Item 14, question period on the meeting of the day. I'll ask anyone who's interested in asking a question on the meeting of the day to please come up to the lectern. Before asking a question on the meeting of the day, please fill in your name and address on the attendance sheet. If you wish to be contacted by a member of council or the administration, you may leave a phone number or email on the sheet, and only state your name before asking the questions. By asking questions during council meeting, you're consenting to be part of the live broadcast and the official public recording of the proceedings.
Hello, Christine Giravan, Rice-Tinville. A question about item number 11, the zoning bylaw amendment, report PD 2024-09. For zoning amendments. I'm just wondering if the local residents were advised in any way for signage or a courtesy update, that they know, that they're aware that the zoning bylaws are changing right across the street from them, et cetera.
Monsieur Godin, Madame Tremblay.
So when it's a zoning amendment to remove the H, the holding symbols, there is no requirement to notify the residents. However, when there's a zoning amendment that would change provision to the zoning, that would reduce setbacks or anything else like that, we have an obligation to circulate and have a notice. But this one is just to remove the H symbol. So in understanding that it meets the required zoning in place.
Right. And this would have been part, obviously, the people across the street are also part of the new construction going on that street.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
have one second question on a different topic. Regarding the live broadcast, One of the things I asked Councillor Deacon if I could have the final 5 to 10 minutes of the last meeting, and she graciously provided that to me. But when I went and looked at the YouTube video, I noticed that after the closed session, when you come out of closed session, onto, up until the point where the meeting is officially adjourned, our visually impaired attendees who may not be here, or those who are mobility impaired, will never have the benefit of attending a full council meeting. Would it be possible if, say, optimally, you'd want it recorded all on the YouTube video? However, if that's not going to happen, could a statement be done before going into closed meeting on how our visually impaired residents can access the information? Just so we're fully transparent about the fact that that last part of the meeting will never or isn't currently being recorded.
Okay.
And maybe added to the description of the YouTube video too.
I see staff taking notes. That's something we can look into. In the past, it's been a staffing issue because we don't know how long that closed sessions are actually going to last. It could be 5 minutes. It could be an hour and a half. Therefore, we weren't keeping staff around just for the sake of keeping staff around, but that's something definitely the administration can look into.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Caroline Maheu. My question of today's agenda is, why is there no police officer present outside tonight's meeting? Because on the 26th of February...
Madam, it has nothing to do with the agenda of the day, so...
Would I be able to finish my question,
It's not a
please?
question, you're making a statement.
I'm asking a question. Why
It
is there
has
no
nothing
police
to do on the
officer
agenda of the day,
present
madam.
outside tonight's meeting?
Madam?
Because there was 6 police officer and at least 1 liaison officer from Ottawa who was questioning me, and I felt intimidated and harassed.
Thank you very much for your question. And not really a question, but a comment. If somebody has a question on the agenda of the day, please come up to the lectern. Seeing no further questions, we'll move on to the next item. Item 15, résolution. Motion que le Conseil approuve toutes les recommandations énumérées à l'ordre du jour numéro 11, rapport des départements et comités du Conseil. Besoin de proposer un appui. Councillor Tarnowski, Councillor Lorrain. Tous en faveur? Opposé? Carried. Item 16, motion that council approve bylaws 2024-023 to 2024-026 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Councillor Deacon. Questions, comments? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 17, new business reports. We have none. Item 18. Rapport d'hiver présenté par le membre du Conseil, il n'y en a pas. 19, public consultations hearings, il n'y en a pas. Item 20, 20 announcements. Any announcements, members of council? Councillor Deacon?
The solar eclipse is happening on April 8th, which is the date of our next regular council meeting, I believe. So please take care, everyone. Protect your eyes. We hope everybody still has their eyesight when they come to the meeting. The library is selling protective glasses for people who do want to see the eclipse. And you can visit the Eastern Ontario Health Unit for more information as well in terms of staying safe on that day. And I also wanted to share that there will be a discussion held with Black residents of our community touching on Black history as well as Black futures here in Russell Township in April. So inputs, feedback, ideas from those discussions will feed into the CDEIAC, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee. We'll meet virtually, so just wanted to put the invitation out there for anyone that you can reach out to me if you'd like to participate or provide suggestions.
Okay, perfect. Any other members of council? Hearing, seeing none, we will move on. Item 21, strategic discussion. We have none this evening. Item 22, closed session. Motion to move into closed session at the hour of 6:29 PM to address matters pertaining to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25, consider matters relating to 1, proposed disposition of land in the township, report CS 2024-05 under Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition land by the municipality or local board. Section 2K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. And item 2, closed session minutes of the regular council meeting dated March 11th, 2024. Need a mover and a seconder go in closed session. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Deacon. All those in favor? Opposed? We are now in closed session. Thank you very much.